Tuesday, December 9th. So yeah, I just passed that guy. That's quite a load. If you could go back and count the tires, let me know how many tires he had. Probably 100 or something, I don't know. And I'm coming from southeast Calgary after my first delivery. I delivered a forklift, what we call warehouse forklift, to TransX Trucking Company. You go in through the gate, you have to call the security, and they take your name down and your company name, and then they let you in. It's like a gate. And my contractor was there, so it's some refrigeration guys are working inside, so they rented this forklift. And I called them before, and they told me which door to go to. The guy says, when you enter, go to Bay 25. I said, okay. And then I go there and I see their van with their company name on the door. So I knew I was in the right place. It's, it's a big trucking company, right? And I saw lots of trucks, lots of reefer trailers. Basically, they only have reefer and dry van trailers. I didn't see any flatbeds or stuff like that. And saw some pretty cool shunt trucks. The guys were putting 53-foot triaxle trailers in the shop, He would pull up to the door, honk his air horn 3 times, and the guys inside would open the door, and then the shunt guy would just back the trailer in there. And I mean, it's easy for them because usually they connect only one hose, the blue one, service brakes, and they have hydraulic 5th wheel, so they don't need to bother with the legs, right? All they do is just drop the 5th wheel till the legs touch the ground, and then they disconnect the service blue line, and that's it. And they go into the next load. And so I'm returning empty to base. Don't know what the next load is, but in other news, my Freightliner on Saturday, when I went just to look at it in the morning because it was leaking some coolant, I saw a huge puddle of coolant, like much bigger than before, because it was cold. And so I started it to warm it up, and I asked the guys because they put me in a pickup truck, but they wanted the Freightliner to run to see if it leaks, And by the time I came back, they said, yeah, the Freightliner is down because it lost all the coolant and started overheating. And so finally they have the part. It's like a little rubber piece that goes in the bottom. That's where it's leaking. But now I'm driving it. They still haven't put it in. So now it's +2 Celsius, 35 F. There's no leaks. So leaks only happen when the temperature goes below freezing for some reason. I don't know. But we have the part, and also I asked him to give me a new winch cable because my cable has lots of flat spots. So I guess after this run, I'm gonna go find that cable because they told me it arrived, and I'll need to install it myself. I think I need some Allen keys. Basically, unspool the old cable and put in the new one. Yeah, and I'm gonna take better care of this one. Not using other scissor lifts, to pull through, because that's how these flat spots happen when the cable touches another scissor lift. When I have 2 on the deck and I have to drag the other one on the deck, and the first one is in the way, and so the cable rubs on it, and that's what causes flat spots. So I just loaded the boom lift. That's gonna be my first stop, delivery, and second delivery. They told me to pick up 4 safety rail posts for scaffolding. Like, that's what the guy is missing. Basically, somebody delivered him scaffolding, and either they forgot to bring these, or maybe the customer forgot he needs them. But this is basically part of scaffolding, just maybe 4 feet long. I just put them in the cab here. And my last stop on this run is going to Northwest and picking up a small zero-turn scissor lift at the car wash. I remember I dropped that one off and it was very tight in there, lots of ice, but now we are at +3, which is what, 36F, 276 Kelvin. Very warm. And these boom lifts, there's always something with them, you know. So usually when they're outside, they're plugged in to keep the battery charged. And then there's another cable on the side that keeps them heated, you know, so that they start easy. So I disconnected both cables, lowered the basket, because normally we store them with the basket in the air. And you turn the key on the base to operate from the base, and then you lower it, and then you turn the key to the basket position, meaning that now you want to control the machine from the basket. So I do all that. I go jump into the basket, which is like 1 foot from the ground, and pull the red brake button. Machine beeps, nothing happens, doesn't want to start. I check the auto start thing. The auto start is on, so it's supposed to start when the brake is released. And it shows me flashing a symbol for lightning. I have no idea what that is. I'm thinking some kind of an error. I try for 5 minutes, cannot move, and it doesn't want to move. I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna take another machine which is behind it, between this one and the fence, but in order to get to that one I have to move this one. I push the lever thinking that maybe I can move it under the electric power, because it has both electric and diesel engines. No, it's dead. Keeps flashing me that lightning symbol. So I'll go inside the shop, find one of the mechanics, and I say, hey, can you give me a hand? And this guy is kind of a comedian. So I say, can you give me a hand? He extends his hand. I say, no, not in this sense. I'm picking up a boom lift. It doesn't want to move. Flashes the lightning symbol. And right away he says, did you disconnect all the cables, all the charging cables? I said, yes, I did. I disconnected both. And then as we approach the machine, we see that there's another cable still attached. Like basically whoever bought this machine, they attached the cable, like 3 cables instead of typical 2. And I could not see that one because it was the boom was blocking my view, you know. And that's why that lightning thing was on. And the mechanic says, if the cables are connected, the machine will not start and will not move. I mean, so I felt like an idiot, you know. Okay, so I disconnected the cable. Boom, right away the machine starts. I drove it to my truck, drive it on, tilt the bed back, put 3 chains of 1 strap on, and now we are on the road heading south on Deerfoot Trail to my first stop. And what these guys are doing, they put it on the paperwork, they're taking off a sign. It's some kind of a warehouse, and there's a big sign up front, and they need to take it off, and so they need this boom lift, you know, to get to that height. Oh, and one thing I did, since we got new cables for the winch, the other Freightliner guy already changed his, and so after I was back from that forklift run, I went to see my dispatcher, said, can you give me a few minutes to put in the new cable? And it took some time to find the proper Allen key, but I managed to unspool the old cable, undo that bolt, take the old cable out, put the new one in. So now we have new winch cables. So we gotta be careful with this one. Don't want to damage it again. And these are the awkward safety rail posts. So I carry them like this through the first stop when I drop off the boom lift, and then this is the second stop. I came over here, went to the dock, found the side door. I see some people working inside. And some guy says, we don't need them. You can take them back. We don't actually need the scaffolding, because basically this was part of the, scaffolding they ordered before, right? And I see all the scaffolding is in the corner, not used, And so this guy says, we're actually returning the scaffolding, so we don't need these. And I said, sir, I have paperwork that says I'm supposed to deliver this. Well, you can leave them outside. Don't put them inside. And I said, well, they cost money, right? They're not that expensive, but they cost money. I cannot leave them outside. What's your company phone number? All right, I call from my phone and talk to my dispatcher, put them on the speakerphone, explain the situation. And right away, everything was resolved. They said I keep the safety posts in my truck and I unload them again when I'm back in the base. And they're gonna send another truck to there tomorrow to pick up all the scaffolding. So, man, I feel that whenever I'm hungry, and time now is, I think it's 11 o'clock, when I usually have my lunch. When I'm hungry, I tend to have a very short fuse, No, I mean, the guy is arguing with me. You bring him something that's part of the order, it's on my paperwork, and he says, we don't need this. How do we actually return the scaffolding that you guys delivered? We're not using it. Like, freaking unbelievable, like, why are you talking to me? Talk to the office. I'm just a driver, right? I'm just doing what I'm told. And we have another winner that's stop 3. It's a tiny baby car wash with 2 Chinese guys who hardly speak any English. And my paperwork says the guy wants 1 hour notice. That's the one I delivered. I remember it's a 0-turn scissor lift. And I'm guessing he wants notice so that that cars that come inside the wash do not block the scissor lift. I don't understand. So anyway, my boss says, give him a call or message him when you leave the yard with the boom lift. And I figured that was an hour, because I looked at the where his location is, so it's like stop 3, right? So I said, okay, I'll be there around 11. So this guy texts me back. He says, could you please give me tell me when you're 30 minutes away. Like, what the heck? It's like some kind of a, I don't know, missile center, right? Why everything has to be so freaking exact? 1 hour. I said, I give you 1 hour notice. Okay, so I'm not arguing with the guy, even though I hate when they're so picky, And so I just sent him a text message, because I put in the address in Apple Maps. Apple Maps says 20 minutes. So I added a couple of minutes, because it always takes longer than what Apple Maps or Google Maps tell you.
Take a slight right turn onto
And Apple Maps still says 11:23. So I told the guy, heading your way, ETA 11:25. That's it. I'm not giving you 30 minutes notice. You already had your 1 hour notice. And actually, so I said 11, but now I'm arriving at 11:25. So basically, he had a 90-minute notice. So leave me alone. Just picked up that 0-turn scissor lift. This is how much snow we have on the ground, especially on these backwoods streets. Look at this car. And the truck. And this is some kind of I'm guessing teachers are protesting over there. Because they were ordered back to work. And they're protesting. They want more money. They're greedy. They want more money, and they want smaller classrooms, I think. And the sky looks beautiful. And now I just read a notice saying that Alberta was issued a snowfall warning up to 30 centimeters. But I checked the weather forecast for Calgary. Tomorrow they're expecting 2 millimeters. 2 millimeters of snow late at night. What 30 centimeters? I don't know. Maybe it's somewhere north of us, maybe Edmonton or Adia, but here we already had plenty of snow, so thank you very much. So anyway, yeah, this thing, tiny space. I hate car washes, you know, they never have enough space because they're built for cars, right? And this scissor lift, you cannot pick up with a pickup truck. It's too heavy for a tailgate. And so I go in there, like I did last time, and of course I block the entrance. Like that's the only space where I can go. And I remember when I was dropping this, the guy says, go inside the wash bay. And I look at him, and they're both Chinese. They hardly speak English, you know. No sign? Like I said, you don't need to sign. No sign? Okay. No sign. And so he says, go in the wash bay. And it's super sharp. And then I said, how am I going to get out? So I go to the end of the wash bay, and there's a super sharp turn, like 180 degree, and it's made for cars, not for 5-ton trucks, you know. Like, I'm not that big, right? I'm not a semi truck, but still. And so, okay, I think I can make the turn. It's pretty tight, but you know, if there's no cars, I can make it. But then I look at the ceiling of that bay, and I look at the top of my exhaust pipe, and I said, too low. My exhaust pipe is gonna hit the ceiling, the entrance. And they said, oh, go to this one. Next one over there, it was taller. All right, so I come closer, and I jump on the bed, and I, you know, look from that standpoint, and it's still too short. I said, guys, come on. Like, first off, I'm too long. I cannot make, it's hard, super hard to make the proper turn into the bay. You know, it's crazy. And so I just parked the truck in front of 2 bays, and I dropped off that scissor, and there was a bunch of snow. So the wheels were spinning. So both guys were pushing and I was pushing, and finally we got it to the dry spot. And now the same story. When I arrived there, I see the scissor is in the corner. I parked same way and started loading right away. One bay door opens, the guy wants to leave. And of course I'm blocking him. I said, 1 minute. And it's like crazy, you know. So I just loaded on the deck, and then I just drove 1 block because there's nowhere stopping there. I didn't have time even to throw chains on it. And I just drove 1 block, and I turned into the side street. And here finally I was able to tie it down. Nuts! Especially when you're hungry, I'm telling you. It drives me nuts. Heading north on Shaganappi Trail. And it's been a week since I've been trying to get to the vehicle for licensing office, you know, to drop off my background check. And all last week we finished at around 4 or even later. And I need to finish at 3:30 because that office is about 15 minutes away, and they close at 4:30. You know, very short hours. And so I have and finally today I said, that's it, you know, I don't want to lose my Uber license, you know, because it's going to expire on my birthday, but still, they don't like it when you, I think it should be renewed 30 days before expiry or something like that. So anyway, I asked my dispatch today, I said, if I'm in the area of that vehicle for licensing office, which is just north of 16th Ave, east of Deerfoot Trail, I said, if I'm in the area, can I please stop for half an hour? I need to drop off my background check for Uber. And the guy said, no problem. I said, I'll just take out some time off my lunch, my 30-minute lunch break. Let's say I'll take 15 minutes instead of 30. But these 3 stops were all too far. Like the first 2, the boom lift and then the safety rail posts, were all in the southeast of Calgary, and now I picked this one up kind of like midtown, also too far from that one. So now heading back to base, but I have the envelope with me, so if my next load takes me closer to that licensing office, I'm definitely stopping, because yeah, I don't want to this, Uber really helps a lot. It's not you cannot get rich, but it's like day-to-day money, just for food and pay the bills. It's really helpful. I learned to rely on it, because multiple sources of income, it's always good. So I have my twice a month I have my pay at the main job, and then I have YouTube paying me a couple of bucks every month, and then I have my small pension, and then occasionally have Turo and rental gig. Actually, yeah, this month I'll have one customer, and then I can do photography, but it died, and I can do Uber. Had somebody ask me, interested in need a photographer for a birthday party. That's it. That was just a comment, a reply to my online ad. Looking for a photographer for a birthday party. Okay, no questions, just a statement, and I just said what day and what time, because now of course I work 6 days a week. I'm only available nights and anytime Sunday. And guess what? No reply from the lady, who probably found somebody. But most people that respond to my online advertising on Kijiji are very cheap. I'm asking them for $100 an hour. They just, dirtying their pants. $100 an hour. Well, what do you expect? Like, my camera is $2,000. I have 3 lenses. That's another probably $4,000. I have a flash. I have all kinds of other stuff. So it's it's not a cheap hobby. Even though now it's all digital, you don't have to develop or print anything, right? But still, and then you have to work with the images, But normally I don't do any editing. I try to get perfect shots from the camera. So what I do is I just look through everything I took at that event, and I delete the duplicates and photos that are not sharp or somehow compromised, And that's it. But yeah, so that's a good gig. But usually in December people hire you, but now it's already December 9th. That's the only offer I had, was about that birthday party, and the lady disappeared. Didn't even want to tell me what day and what time. I guess it's a big secret. Well, I stopped for lunch at Sobeys. They have a nice deli section, so I had this turkey and beef sandwich, $6.49, and then XL sandwich was I forgot, also like $5 or something. So, and some Diet Coke. Off work for 30 minutes. Now check out this bad boy. That's 670C John Deere. So probably weighs 70 tons. Huge machine. Well, as it often happens after lunch, I'm in a pickup truck, and as you can tell, this is a Ram 3500, one of our trucks in the better shape compared to the other Fords. So of course everything is electric and has cruise control that the Fords don't have, and has a pretty decent screen. So now I'm doing CarPlay. CarPlay works, and the best part I like about this truck, it has exhaust brake, either full or automatic. Automatic applies sparingly, whereas full applies each time you take your foot off the throttle. But now I'm empty, so I might as well turn it over. And then of course you have tow haul, which is great for braking when you're fully loaded, because it keeps you in a lower gear. And then of course it has climate control. The other ones don't have it. They just have regular heater or AC, but not climate control. This is kind of like what I have in my Durango and Jeep Compass, you know, pretty. And of course here we have two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive. This is high and this is low. You see, whenever I do this, it says shifting in progress. Where is it? Oh, over there. Boom. You see now that yellow letters, four-wheel drive. I go back, it disappears. So now we're in two-wheel drive. So it's pretty decent truck, and it even has this, you know, so you can, you know, if somebody needs power for a laptop or something, it has it. You know, that's an option, not a cheap one either. Just picked up my scaffolding, and honestly I had some reservations about this, because this is the place where they refused the safety rail posts, right? And the guy was arguing with me, and I remember that I saw all the scaffolding in the far corner of the warehouse. Like, you know, I came to the dock side where the docks are, and you have to walk like, I don't know, 200 meters, because they were in the front. And then I realized, wait a second, it has doors on the front. Oh, and I opened the door, there's nobody there. I was afraid they would make me carry them, you know, like 200 meters to the dock or something. But I thought, okay, if they do that, if they refuse to bring them closer, because we don't do that. We do curbside delivery and curbside pickup. I cannot walk 200 meters with 6 frames and a bunch of decks.
50th Street Southeast,
You
toward
know?
106th Avenue
But
Southeast.
I arrived there, the door is open where the docks are, and there's nobody there. The place is deserted. I found out our scaffolding,
In 150 meters, turn left onto 106th Avenue Southeast.
and went to the front door, and there's locks, and it's locked. Okay.
Turn left
So
onto 106th Avenue Southeast, then turn left onto 52nd Street Southeast.
So I opened the lock, made sure the door is open, poke my head out. There's parking available on the other side. So I went back to my truck, drove the truck around the building, and just as I am parking, a guy arrives in a car, and he goes to the same door, and turns out there's a padlock, kind of like, you know, real estate style lock where they hide the key, and he tries to open that one. So I realized it's my client, the one I've been communicating. He was asking me, what's your ETA? When I told him I'm coming to get the scaffold, he says, what's your ETA? I said, 30 minutes. And so it turns out it's this guy. He says, oh, you beat me by a couple of minutes. And I said, the door is open.
At the light, turn left onto 52nd Street Southeast North.
He looks at me kind of funny. I said, I opened the door because I came from the other side. The other door is open, so I just walked across the warehouse, opened the door so that I can load. And he says, ah, cool. And also I found a board, like a short piece of, you know, wood with a nail. And that nail actually acts as because when you put it down, because of the nail, the thing sits like this. So a perfect doorstop, you know, like homemade. And I brought that with me because I found it on the other side there where my car was, and I'm thinking, okay, like how do I prop those doors? Because there's like dual doors, but I didn't see anything there on the ground. And so I brought this one, and this guy was impressed. He says, oh, you even brought the doorstop. I said, yeah, I said, I stole it from the other side. I'll take it back. And the guy helped me load. He was carrying the frames, he was carrying the decks, the braces, you know, the wheels. That does not happen often, let me tell you this. Normally somebody arrives, they're just there in case you need a signature. For some reason, I don't know why they always expect a signature when we are picking up. Do I need to sign anything? Well, you rarely sign for deliveries. Like, why? We don't need your signature for pickups, you know?
Continue on 52nd Street Southeast North for 2 kilometers.
Anyway, so that was my stop one. Basically, quite often you expect the worst, and it turns out to be not so bad. And actually the guy even helps you load, you know. Cool. So that was a pleasant surprise, because I already was envisioning myself carrying all the scaffolding 200 meters across the warehouse before I realized there was a door on the other side, you know. But some people, you know, they expect you to do that. Or let's say when you pick up heaters, you know, now a cold season, right? So we are renting a lot of heaters, and people either use our propane tanks or with a little adapter connected to the hose, you can use natural gas. You know, like if there's gas in the building, you just bring them the heater. You don't need to bring them those crazy heavy bottles, as they call them, bottles of propane. I call them tanks. And so what happens is that quite often, you know, let's say if they rent more than one heater and more than one bottle of propane, let's use the technical term, they spread them out across the site. Even if it's like a house, a small house they're building, well, like a regular house, but not like a industrial facility, no? So they're building a house, so normally they would put one heater in the basement. Let's say they were doing some concrete work, and then they would put one, let's say, in the garage, and then another one still in the somewhere top floor or something, right? And the propane tanks, you cannot put them inside. Like by law, they have to be outside because of fire risk. But that's why they have these very long, you know, propane hoses. So they put tanks outside, but they're all over the place, you know, like south side of the house, east side of the house, you know, and then the heaters are inside. And so sometimes what they do is you arrive there, there's nobody there, everything is open, and your tanks are all over the place, and it's all snow, you know, ice. And that's why whenever I have a pickup of this kind of stuff, I always bring a dolly, you know. It's great for tanks, it's great for heaters. But if we have to do that, if we have to collect the stuff all over the place, we charge them labor. Like I tell my boss, the dispatcher, and he says, mark your time, you know, from the time I arrived until the time I finished, and we charge him labor. Because it's supposed to be all in one place.
Turn right onto Glenmore
Not-
Trail Southeast.
Not throughout the, you know, construction site. That's not our job. Like when we deliver, we do the same. We bring them heaters and tanks, and quite often the guy would say, okay, let's
Turn right
put
onto Glenmore Trail
Let's put one heater on that side and another heater on this side. No, sir, we don't do this. Oh, you don't? No, unfortunately.
Continue on Glenmore Trail Southeast for 3 kilometers.
We do what's called curbside delivery. Oh, okay. You know, you don't argue with them. You just, you know, you're polite, but you're firm, and you stand your ground. Otherwise, they would want you drag those tanks 10 meters one way, 20 meters another way, you know. So yeah, we don't do that. Like when I just started, I didn't know any better. I remember that I was picking up again tanks and heaters, and tanks were all over the place, and they started building foundation. So it was not like open level ground. It was like, you know, walls up to your, not up to your knees, but maybe like 1 foot walls, and you had to drag them all over the place. But after that experience, so I learned that, yeah, you always ask dispatch what you're supposed to do if the stuff is not in one place, and they're telling you, okay, either you want to do it, then just mark the time and we'll charge them labor, or you don't want to do it, well, you'll just say attempt number 1 failed, the stuff is not ready, and then they're gonna, what they do is they charge them again for second pickup attempt. You know, actually it happened with oh yeah, I went to one place and everything was still connected, and that's another big no-no. You know, we do not disconnect hoses everything has to be disconnected, because like my boss says, especially if there's all propane connected and and heaters, because maybe there's some people working there, and you disconnect, so you kill the heat, and then they might blame us, I don't know, somebody dies from exposure to cold or something, right? So they said no, if everything is still connected, especially when it's operating, we do not pick it up. So yeah, there's a couple of nuances in with this job. So you want to be polite. You want, like our bosses always say, we want people to come back. That's how you treat them, even when they're being a-holes, but we want them to come back and rent more stuff, right? So we want them to have pleasant experience. And so definitely, since I've been in sales all my life, like having my own trucking company, right? So it's always sales. So you want to leave a good impression. You don't want to argue with people, right? And so if there's a problem, I just say 1 second, and I call my dispatcher, because he's offside. He's kind of like objective party, whereas I can get hot under the collar, right? And so we never use emotion, right, when dealing with a customer. No emotion, just facts. Could you please, let's say if I showed up there and there was no door and scaffolding is 200 meters away, I would say, I was just playing it in my head, like getting ready to have some bad experience. I would say,
in 500 meters, turn left onto the Alberta 201.
Are you guys going to help me to take it to the truck? No, we don't have time. Okay, can somebody bring it closer to the truck? No. All right, 1 second. And then I would call my dispatch and say, okay, here's the situation. All the scaffolding is in the corner, 200 meters away from the entrance. I asked them if they could
the Alberta 201 north
bring the stuff closer. They refused. They said no. So what shall I do? And that's it. And then the boss tells you what to do. Either you charge them for labor and you drag it 200 meters. But imagine it, 6 frames. That would take, I don't know, probably 40 minutes. I don't know. But turns out everything was way easier. Oh, check this out. We are chasing a heavy haul guy. So try drive truck, tandem Jeep. Sorry about that. 3 plus 2 in the back.
Merge onto Stony Trail southeast north, Alberta 201 north.
And he has a big ass excavator. And look how his booster is less narrow than his last axles. I'm guessing his deck is not a standard 8 feet 6 inches. It's probably 9 feet. All right, anybody on my left? No. Oh, he's changing lanes too.
North for 18 kilometers.
Son of a gun. I wanna show him from the side. Well, I'm near 17th Avenue downtown. Price at Shell is $108, I think. There's a bunch of restaurants here, and it's a busy area, and I'm doing Uber. Yeah, you can see the sign there. 17th Ave. There's a lot of homeless people here, like they're standing on the corner. And so I went inside to use the washroom, and I was surprised they allowed me inside because there's a lot of homeless people in the area, and normally they don't, customers only, but I bought a coffee, so for some reason. I bought a coffee because this is Shell, and Shell now has everywhere these beans to cup machines, and I love it. Small coffee was $1.90 after tax. and it's past 7, but normally it does not affect me anymore, so I should be sleeping okay. And did 3 rides, sitting at $40, and now I was hoping to get somebody, you know, going back to my northeast area. But Uber aside, I just wanted to finish the story with my 5-ton life video. So basically, I was doing that scaffolding, and I ended up, when I was in that Ram 3500, I had 3 pickups, right? And I ended up with a bunch of frames, bunch of decks. It was a lot, but yeah, a guy helped me, right? But then I had 2 small pickups, but I had to reshuffle the decks because there was not enough space. But anyway, so yeah, the truck looked funny. So I showed up at the base, and it's 3 o'clock. And I was still hoping to leave early to get to my, you know, vehicle licensing office, right? To drop off my background check. And I asked the boss, I say, what do I do with the scaffolding? He looked at the orders for tomorrow, delivery, and I'm guessing there's no scaffolding. So he says, unload. And then when you're done, if we have time, we'll just preload 226 scissors on your Freightliner. I'm like, okay. So definitely I'm not getting out before 3:30, which I need. So if I leave at 3:30, that would give me enough time to get to that vehicle licensing office, and hopefully, because they close at 4:30, but they're only like 15 minutes away. But if I leave at 4, that's it. There's no chance I will make it in time. And so I unloaded all the scaffolding, went back. I said, truck 3 is empty. So he gives me paperwork, which is actually great. It means that first thing tomorrow I'll be in a Freightliner. So there's 2 deliveries, same size, medium size scissor lifts, and 26 means it's like 2632, means that it can go up to 26 feet, and the machine is 32 inches wide, which is always very important because quite often people have to get them through doors, you know, so they need to know how wide it is, right? So those are 2 most important things: how high it can go and how wide it is. And so I loaded 2 identical 26 by 32 scissor lifts, secured them, and finally they have the part for my leaking radiator, which does not leak when it's warm. But we started at -1 today, and then it went to +8, I think, and then by the evening we were at -11, and they were saying that overnight it'll go to like -12, and then the next couple of days will be really cold at night especially. And my truck, this Freightliner, only leaks when it's super cold. And they ordered 1 part which turns out to be wrong, and then it's kind of like a drain plug, you know, like a rubber piece that you use to drain the coolant when you need to change it. And there's a little seal in there, and that's it shrinks when it's cold, I'm guessing because the truck is getting old. And so finally I had a message today saying that from the fleet manager, saying that the proper part will be here tomorrow, and they're gonna install it by noon. And I told dispatch, I said, wait, if you plan on me using the truck and it's -11 right now, I said, we'd better put it inside the warehouse, otherwise all the coolant will be gone, you know.